This one just
like nothing I've ever seen.
She wakes up in the morning, she hugs her Elsa and her Seth Sloth.
She wakes up smiling. She goes to bed smiling. This kid never cries.
She's so charismatic. And there's something this little lady wants to do with that.
Baby shark.
It was the first couple months we thought everything was fine. It wasn't, we just didn't know. Our daughter was small. Our daughter was jaundiced. We didn't know any better. And we were at a different hospital system and nobody noticed it. There was no sense of compassion or it just was very matter of fact. And that's the point we realized this isn't going the right direction.
Mattie had biliary atresia, a relatively rare disease that is caused by scarring of the bile ducts that leads to an obstruction and the buildup of bile and bilirubin in blood.
We show up and it's a new hospital, we don't know anybody, and Dr. G and Stephanie Hernandez came in and he just took her and held her. And for 45 minutes, he just held her and fed her and got to know her. Instantly, we knew this is where we need to be and that they were going to care about our child as much as they would care about their own.
At the moment, there are no treatments for biliary atresia, and about 70 to 80% of infants with the disease will eventually need a liver transplant.
September 1st, she'd done a simple procedure. We were in the hospital for an infection, and she
drained her belly.
She nosedived that night, and all of her organs shut down. And by morning, she was in a coma, and they actually took her off the list. They came in with a chaplain and sat down and said, she won't make it 4 hours. And we believed it. They believed it. Everybody believed it. Except Mattie. 4 hours later, she was still there.
We couldn't do anything. We're just helpless at this point. And we were just crying out for help for somebody to figure this out. And that night and the next day and that Saturday was where...
Right, and then she coded that day. When your child codes and you see 20 people rush into the room and push you aside and they just start CPR and everything else, and no one should ever see that. We owed her to fight as long as she was fighting. And there were several doctors and several nurses that we could tell emotionally were connected to this child and were willing to fight with us.
Yeah.
We didn't leave the hospital, ever. We couldn't get her stabilized. To get to the hospital to be able to put her back on the transplant list, the milestones were so high, and we just weren't getting there. We just stood by that bed, praying that it would stabilize. And it was, I think, the moment that you started to go, there's no way that we could have come this far for nothing. And we got to that day where one moment looked at the labs, looked at the medicines, and we hit it.
All of a sudden, one of our favorite doctors came in, but then she had a whole bunch of people behind her. The energy was different. And she said, we had a liver.
And I remember the doctor just going, yes. And he turned and he said, no more tests.
Let's go.
Done.
Yep.
We're going into this surgery.
Ciao, Mattie.
Everybody was getting everything organized and ready. And I'm walking by this woman, never saw her before. And she just put her hand on my shoulder and said, stop. And she said, it's fine. I saw God's hand on the baby. And I never saw her again. There's no way not to believe that somebody helped Mattie through this.
The surgeons walked in. I just went up to them. I just hugged them. And
there was a moment, two of her best friends were there, and She woke up. And she woke up and looked her eyes around, looked around and smiled. And it was the first moment in months where we knew our little girl was inside that body.
She was in there. She's like, just give me time.
When Mattie was well enough to leave the hospital, the entire team was ecstatic.
She has a very strong personality. She blows everyone a kiss. She hugs every child she sees. If she sees a picture of a kid, she hugs it. We went to visit another liver baby. Instantly we walk in, of course, the nurses are like, oh my God, it's Mattie.
We saw her, she was super critical and took care of her for several days, and to see her thriving like this is amazing. She's a full-blown toddler walking around. Honestly, it's like the best thing ever. Look at how she's thriving right now. It's so beautiful. I love her so much, actually.
It gives me a lot of hope for other kids because everyone can get better and be Mattie.
When people talk about miracles, Mattie is truly a miracle.
Seeing Mattie now, walking around, running around, smiling, this is the reason I became a doctor.
Oh, bye-bye.
I went in thinking of it as a hospital and not about the faith-based side. I walked out as a believer. Our biggest hope is that she never sees herself as less, but what she has survived and what she has gone through. She's a warrior princess, and she is going to change the world.